Doug Limerick, ABC News.
With a KWLM News update, here's JP Cola.
Right now, 5 minutes past 8 o'clock. Winds out of the north-northwest at 3, 25 degrees with about an inch of fresh snow on the ground. Minnesota U.S. Senator Al Franken was pleased with the ideas brought forth by fellow Democrat President Barack Obama in last night's State of the Union address. In particular, Franken agrees that shoring up America's middle class is a priority.
The strong middle class, the economy grows from the middle out.
Republican Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer says that while the president and the new Congress share many of the same goals, affordable education, inexpensive and accessible health care, and a robust middle class, he disagrees with the president's approach to reaching those goals and says bigger government and higher costs necessary to achieve them is forcing the middle class to pick up the tab. Some local mayors are attending today's start of the U.S. Conference of Mayors in the nation's capital. Last night they got to watch the State of the Union speech. Today they'll discuss topics ranging from jobs, health care, education, and climate protection. Minneapolis Mayor Betsy Hodges and Mayor Chris Coleman of St. Paul are among those who are scheduled to be in attendance. Democratic U.S. Congressman Rick Nolan applauds President Obama's State of the Union address delivered last night in D.C., particularly his focus on working families. Nolan says it's time to, quote, forget this trickle-down economics, unquote, because it only works for the super rich, and now, quote, it's time to perkle up, unquote, because the American dream is really all about a strong middle class with good living wages, good living wage jobs and benefits, and a, quote, few bucks left over at the end of the week, unquote. Fellow DFL Congressman Tim Walz says he doesn't agree with everything the president said in his speech, but vows to reform the tax code to help families make ends meet and the vision to create a 21st century economy with homegrown energy jobs and an infrastructure to match our steps in a positive direction. We'll take a break. More news right after this.
And focusing on our children, but often overlook our own retirement needs. Christensen and Associates CPAs and CNA Financial Advisors know that retirement and estate planning have many moving parts, including cash flow advising, tax implications, and legal documentation. Don't let your financial and estate goals remain in question. Call the experts at Christensen and Associates and CNA Financial Advisors today at 235-59. Take the next step designing a plan that achieves your goals.
KWLM News Time now, 8:08. On KWLM's Legislative Review show Saturday, local lawmakers talked about a variety of bills affecting education likely to come up this session. Senator Lyle Coonan says one would allow local school districts to start the next school year before Labor Day. Coonan says this year, Labor Day falls on the 7th of September, the latest possible date on the calendar.
District 17, with the exception of maybe one or two districts, every district that has their administrative office within the district has asked for a early start. And I'm sure it's the same around the state. There are going to be a lot of schools requesting this. And the part of the process is we have to introduce bills for each of those districts.
Coonan would like to see a bill that would allow all districts to have the choice, even if it's just for this year. Representative Tim Miller has authored a bill that would let school districts decide if they want to keep 4-day school weeks. Miller says right now the Commissioner of Education makes the decision, and she wants McRae and ACGC to go back to 5-day school weeks.
To all three of us, and said we would basically like to keep our 4-day school week, and the Department of Education Commissioner, at least as of right now, has said
Representatives Dave Baker and Dean Erdahl support Miller's bill. Another bill that may be considered would allow school districts to decide which teachers to lay off based on merit and not seniority. Senator Lyle Coonan says he's concerned if the bill passed, it would simply become a cost-cutting tool. A Willmar woman and her passenger were injured in a two-vehicle crash yesterday on Highway 23. The State Patrol says at 7:38 p.m., a Buick driven by 59-year-old Lydia Newville of Willmar was heading westbound on Highway 23, just south of Paynesville, when she hit a patch of slush, ended up sliding into the oncoming lane, and was hit by a semi that was heading westbound. Newville was eastbound, the semi was westbound. Newville and her passenger, 18-year-old Ashley Alfaro of Bloomington, were both taken to the Paynesville Hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. I'm J.P. Cola, News Talk 1340 and 96.3 FM, KWLM.